Hello, class. This is our second lecture of the semester. Remember, all of these lectures apply directly to our exams. This information, for example, will be on exam one. Take good notes. In most cases, every slide is at least one exam question, just as a general guide. Okay, the title of our second lecture of the semester is Public Speaking Ethics. Let's talk a little bit about that. Now, I will say this really quick before we get into our material. This lecture is a little bit different because we have a handful of psychological terms we're going to get into first, and then we're sort of leading up to how those psychological terms apply to public speaking. So just kind of bear with me for the first several slides as we talk about some psychology here. There's something called psychological entitlement. Here's the definition: a personality trait that is based on a person's belief that they deserve privileges or recognition for things they did not earn. And maybe in life you've heard that expression, entitlement, or that person feels entitled. Well, that's pretty much what this is: a person feeling entitled. There are some phrases you might say that describe feelings of entitlement. For example, a person like that might even just subconsciously feel the world revolves around me, right? See, I'm number one. Everything else revolves around me. I'm the center of the universe. Or the world owes me. A lot of emphasis on me. Maybe you've heard an expression called meism. Meism. That means excessive emphasis on self. But all of that is wrapped up in what's called psychological entitlement. Psychological entitlement may be due to things like the environment a person grew up in, right? What happened to them as a child, during childhood? What was their upbringing like? See, those early years are very, very formidable and moldable. So, how our mind develops in those childhood years, well, it kind of matters who we become as adults. Maybe it's the way parents treated a person from childhood all the way on up. Perhaps it could be how a person was treated by authority figures. And there's more things we can mention here, but these are just some quick basics as to why a person may experience psychological entitlement. Unfortunately, psychological entitlement can affect what a person expects from other people. It may affect their personal life, and it may affect their professional life, their professional relationships, and it certainly may affect their studentship, being a student and coming to class and so forth. It's possible for a student even to experience psychological entitlement. Communication scholars emphasize the importance of this right here, everybody. A very important concept in our discipline. It's called other oriented, being other oriented, having an orientation towards the other. Who is the other, you ask? It's everybody except for us. So here's our formal textbook definition of being other oriented: an awareness of the thoughts, needs, experiences, personality, emotions, motives, desires, cultures, and goals of others, other people, everybody except for us. Yet, still maintaining our own integrity. So we're not just only focusing on other people, we're also, and I love this expression, maintaining our own integrity. That's important too, right? Unfortunately, some people have a tendency to overemphasize themselves, and they care very little to none, really, about other people. But communication scholars strongly emphasize the importance of being other oriented, having an orientation towards the other. An other oriented person does not feel a sense of entitlement. See, psychological entitlement, or a person who feels entitled, they have no orientation for the other because they're very absorbed in themselves. There's this sort of self-importance. But an other oriented person is humble and looks out for other people and does not feel a sense of entitlement. So now we're getting more into being a student and specifically our class, public speaking. Missing an assignment when it's out of our control, such as maybe we're very sick or there's some kind of a serious emergency that happens and it's out of our control. It could cause a student to miss an assignment, unfortunately. But now notice this. Psychological entitlement, remember the expression there, would say, well, the world revolves around me, so I don't really care how missing an assignment impacts other people. I don't care because I'm entitled, because the world revolves around me. Other people don't matter. But notice this, an other orientated person, in other words, a person who has an orientation towards others and thinks about the feelings of others, well, they feel somewhat sad because they inconvenienced others, especially if they missed an important assignment like a speech. Remember, giving a speech is not just about you, it's not just about me, it's about a lot of people. And there's a lot involved when it comes to giving a speech, and there's a lot of people involved when it comes to giving a speech. So if we were to miss a speech, we are now impacting negatively many, many people. But notice this slide. This is a very important slide. Even if our missing this assignment was out of our control, serious sickness, serious emergency, notice this right here. An other orientated person is still going to feel a sense of sadness, not overly sad where they beat themselves up, no, but they feel a balanced sense of sadness because they inconvenienced others. And that's healthy. That's good. It's good to think about those other people that we may have inconvenienced. And like it says on the bottom of the slide, an other-oriented person feels a need to apologize that others were inconvenienced, even if circumstances out of our control caused us to miss an assignment. That's an important point. So that brings us to this slide right here. Missing a speech, whether it's this class or out there in the world when we're literally scheduled to give speeches in front of large audiences, or maybe it's another class that you're giving a presentation in, and we can go on and on. The business world, if you're going into the business world, boy, you likely will be involved in a lot of presentations, speeches that you'll be giving to others. Well, missing a scheduled speech or a scheduled presentation is very serious. And we don't take it lightly in the public speaking world. So, writing a formal, and I underline that word formal, letter of apology is customary in the public speaking world if we miss a speech. It just makes sense, right? We have just inconvenienced a lot of people. And so, even if it was out of our control, maybe an emergency happened in our life, remember, because we're other oriented, we still feel sad that we just inconvenienced other people. So we feel impelled. We want to show this sadness, if you will, this compassion by writing a formal letter of apology to that event coordinator or whoever it is that's organizing this speech. We now feel compelled to write a formal letter of apology, not just a quick text, not just a quick email. No, a formal letter that involves our time, it involves our emotions in carefully crafting, carefully putting together a heartfelt formal letter to this event coordinator to express the sadness that we feel that we just inconvenienced them and we inconvenienced many people. So, this is something to remember. Writing a formal letter of apology is customary if a speech is missed in the public speaking world, including our class here, Introduction to Public Speaking.